Everyone's preparing for an outbreak of war, EMPs, grid down scenarios, but the real collapse, I think, is happening or has already happened right now. And it's not as dramatic as you think. It's silent, it's slow, and it's going to be affecting a lot of people. Hi, this is Everyday Prepper. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited to be here in the woods in my favourite spot again. Even though they've put signs up saying no camping, I'm not camping, I'm having a picnic. I've brought my noodles, I've got some coffee. There's a few things I want to chat about. Now, first of all, I've got this tarp set up. That's not actually a tarp. This is my poncho. I was hoping for a bit more rain, but the sun keeps coming out. Highly annoying. Get a little bit of rain. We had loads of rain last night, but I didn't really want to come out last night. I was too tired. I was in bed. But I was hoping for another thunderstorm today, so bring it on. First things first, let's get a brew on. So some of you might know I've been quite busy preparing for my retirement next year, or permanent holiday, or whatever you like to call it. And I've been documenting the biggest part of planning for this has been the finances, working to a budget. At the moment, we don't really live to a massive budget. We just kind of pay the bills, buy some shopping when we need it, make the best of our earnings. But planning forward with a finite amount of money and an unknown, as in how the pension money is going to perform in the stock market, if it's invested or earning interest or whatever, has been the hardest part. And so I've been documenting that on my other channel, which I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in finance stuff. But in doing that, I've done a lot of research on pensions, obviously. And I've come across quite a lot of statistics about where people are at with regards to their finances. Now, there are quite a lot of people who are, there's a lot of people who watch this channel and my other channel that are a similar sort of age to me and have their finances absolutely sorted. But there are also a lot of people that are in a position similar to myself, or not quite as fortunate as myself. And I look at a lot of young people these days, and although they're not really the type that watch this channel, the financial crisis or collapse that I was talking about earlier is, you've got a lot of people that there's no affordable housing. They can't get on the housing ladder. They can't buy a property, which is traditionally what you would do. When I was growing up in the 80s or the 70s and 80s, you'd always get on the property ladder. That's what you would do. I think that was a woodpecker. But you find a lot of young people are renting, £1,200 a month or upwards per month for rent. It's horrendous. When I first started out renting when I left home, it was like £400 a month. And incomes haven't massively changed. Now, cost of living's gone up, fuel prices have gone up, everything's, utilities have gone up massively. And I found out the other day that the average income across the UK is around just under 37.5 grand a year. Well, it's been a long time since I've been on anywhere near that. And if that's the average, then why are 20% of young people not saving properly towards retirement? It's because their expendable income or their surplus income at the end of the day is just not there. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the government constantly extending the pension age. Some people are even saying that they're going to means test the pension. I'm sure there'll be absolute uproar, but if they do it, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't make them do anything. The government will just do what they're going to do. I don't know if there'll be people are saying there's not going to be pensions later on. They can't afford it. It's an absolute financial catastrophe waiting to happen. If that does happen, that will be a collapse, definitely. People. Incomes going. You've got AI replacing a lot of jobs now, not necessarily the manual ones yet, but a lot of office jobs are being replaced by AI. So where's it going to be? You're going to end up with people on what do they call it, universal basic income into retirement. I don't know. Will it be enough to support you in retirement? What with the cost of living going up? I really don't know. All I know is I'm just coming across a lot more statistics and numbers related to what I'm doing, and it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought. I know that my kids, one of them's at university, so but still has to rent. They cover rent with a part-time job while he's at uni. Then my daughter, she's actually living at home, but she'll be leaving home next year and moving in with her boyfriend. So, but they're looking at properties, about £1,200 a month, because you can't really get much for much less than that. It's crazy. It's crazy. Where's it all going? Right, water's nearly ready. It's full of flies, so that'll be nice, extra protein. So you're probably thinking, you know, Steve, what's all this financial talk? What's this got to do with prepping? Well, one, you know, I've been dealing with a lot of finances lately, and it's really in my head at the moment. But one of the things we're going to be doing next year is we're going to be downsizing our lifestyle massively. So we're not going to be living in a house. We're going to be possibly living on the road. We might be living in a beat-up old property in France. We might be, if we do that, we might be living on a canal boat, we might be living in a caravan or a camper van or a motorhome. We're not sure yet. We're really not sure. You know, there's no major rush. And once we get the house sold and we get all the money in the bank, that's what we're going to do. But from a prepping point of view, you know, I'm not prepping for, you know, the end of the world. As I said before, EMPs, CMEs, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the survival stuff that I've learned is going to be crucial to living in to the innovation that I'm going to have to do to living in a caravan or living on a boat. You know, we're going to have to be. We want to save on electricity, right? So I want to be using solar power. And somebody commented on my other channel saying, well, how are you going to power your laptop in your caravan in a field with no with no electric hookup? And I just said, well, solar. And they said, well, solar will only charge your battery in a caravan. I thought, oh, okay, that's fair enough. But simple things like that they obviously don't understand how solar works. You can rig it up to inverters and everything else and have mains power off a battery. So things like that I kind of take as second nature, that I've developed over the years as part of my prepping and you know, learning about survival and everything else, is going to be crucial to me saving money and reducing the outgoings that and the drawdown that I'll be taking from my pension. So as I said, you know, the biggest thing I've had to really worry about is the financial side of it. It's not the living frugally side of it. I can live under a tarp. I could live under a tarp for days if I didn't have to go back to poxy work. I'd be quite happy to live in the woods on ration meals for a couple of weeks here and there and all that sort of stuff. And you know, if we have to live a really frugal lifestyle in a caravan, I'll be geared up for that. I'll have all the gear. I'll have all the backup gear. And the innovation as well. You know, I was reading up about Generation X, which apparently I fall within. So it's like people who were born between 1965 and 80 or something like that. You know, I was born in the 70s, so I'm Generation X. And Generation X, they call them the key latch kids, apparently. And what that means was, you know, that we used to come home from school and their parents would be out working, so we'd come home to an empty house. So you'd have to let yourself in, you do yourself some tea, you do yourself some dinner, make sure the house is all secure and everything else, maybe go and water the plants for mum and dad, stuff like that. So even the whole generation is a generation of people sort of my age and around my age that are innovative, can look after themselves when they're left to their own devices. Whereas you've got a lot of people like, you know, the millennials who have had everything done for them. You know, they've grown up with tech in place. So, you know, we grew up in the internet. There's no mobile phones. We used to go out and disappear into a cornfield for 7 hours and then come back home at tea time when it was getting dusk. Didn't have a watch, didn't have a phone, didn't have internet, anything like that at all, and dealt with life perfectly fine. But you know, nowadays, it's since the rise of the internet, you're constantly bombarded by adverts from big companies that just want you to spend, and the government, all they're going on about is GDP, like we're just some like little machine churning out money for them. It never used to be like that. There was no real expectations like that. It was just like, you know, leave them to get on with it, and they'll get on with it. And since the rise of the internet, I've seen more of, you know, we're just bombarded with advertising and cookies and all this sort of rubbish and stuff that it's just unnecessary. You know, they put everything these days on subscriptions, you know, monthly subscriptions to build up your monthly outgoings. I remember when I worked at the bank, the slogan there was, in the High Street Bank, was to, we want all of the customers' wallet. And all that means is we want their home insurance, we want their gas and electric, so we're going to provide products for all of these things, their car insurance, we're going to provide all of these things, and when we sit down and interview them, we're going to sell and get them onto our product for all of these things. You know, their mortgage, we want their loan, we want their credit card, We want their debit card, we want their current account with all their direct debits. You know why banks pay so much for the direct debits? Information, because they sell that information to other companies who can then target you with because you fall into a certain category, and they can target you. So they see a direct debit for a mortgage, or a direct debit for a credit card, or a direct debit for home insurance. They can sell those details to other insurance companies that can then bombard you with adverts. That's what happens in the banking industry. It's just sell, sell, sell. It's horrible. That's why I got out. It's unethical, and that's why I got out. It's totally unethical, and it didn't sit right with me at all. You know, back in the day in the 80s, the only subscription I think I had, which I used to send a postal order off every month in the post office. You didn't have online banking or anything like that. You might have been able to do standing orders, I don't know. But my subscription was Lookin'. There's a magazine called Lookin', which is all about all the latest pop stars and latest gossip and stuff like that. It's like a kids magazine. That was the only ever subscription I had. Now I've got all sorts of stuff going out of my bank every single month, and of course that's what they want. That's what they want, and they don't want you to be able to leave that. And that's what we're planning on doing next year. Is we're just going to go, yep, turn it all off, and we're going to go and live our lives. And that's what it's all about. Coming back to the prepping side of it, although I feel a lot of the fear and the worry about this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen has been totally unnecessary. It's actually put me in good stead for when I want to spend time next year living a really simple life. Now you might completely disagree. Let me know. I'll be interested to see what you think. Are you in a position where you've got your retirement sorted out, or are you? Like I say, most people that watch this channel and the other one really are sort of my age and around that age, so we probably are sorted financially, but it might be not. Let me know. Got this caterpillar that is determined to come into my shelter. So we'll let him in, or her. Yep, no rain, just sunshine. Really disappointed. I was hoping to give my tarp a proper test out. I've brought some coffee mate with me. Managed to get some now. It seems to be abundant all of a sudden. So we went through this terrible shortage, and it was terrible because I love it. Couldn't get it anywhere. And now it's all it's come down in price, and it's quite abundant, so that's good. That's one thing I wanted to mention. It's all about the cost of living, right? So I cancelled my water direct debit just because they're pumping crap into our sea and wrecked our beaches. Our beaches have now been condemned. All the house prices in the area have gone down because of Southern Water. Now I was going to do a report on Southern Water. Are currently on a road near me. They've left it for over a week, where there's water just flooding out of their drains. We've been talking about hosepipe bans and please conserve water. I got a text from the other day, please conserve water and all this. I was like, no, you conserve water. They're not doing anything about it, and they're pumping rubbish into our sea. I was told by someone on their call centre that if you looked at what was in the water, you wouldn't drink it, which is why we filter our water, obviously. And then just as I left today to come out here, my wife's parting words, apart from love you Steve, see you soon, were that the chief executive of Southern Water, has just been paid a £700,000 bonus for doing so well. I thought, what's he targeted on? Is he targeted on the amount of tons of human excrement that he can pump into our sea, and if he meets that target, then he gets an extra bonus? Because that's all they're doing. I can't see that they're doing anything good at all. And they've doubled their prices. Isn't that amazing? Doubled their prices to pay him $700,000. It's just absolutely bonkers. This is what's happening. This sort of thing. Either we didn't hear about it. It wasn't in your face back in the day, or it wasn't happening, but either way, now it's just in your face. It's just disgusting, absolutely disgusting. These people, how do they sleep at night? I just don't understand that kind of mentality. I really don't. They're the kind of people who drive probably around in a really big car, and they never say thank you when you pull in for them. You know, that kind of person. Guarantee you. I know I'm generalising. This caterpillar is absolutely determined. Right, I'll send him on his way. Totally forgot my DEET spray today, so I am going to get bitten to heck. I'll tell you, this is a nice change being out in the woods though. I just haven't had time. Been working, been trying to sort the house out, clear out and everything else. It's just really nice to be in my nice spot. Loads of trees falling down there. Normally where I do my tarp, my ridge line, two of the trees that I normally use the ridge line between are gone. They've fallen down. So the two beech trees that I'm pinned to now, those seem alright. Anyway, look, I've ranted on. That's my rant for today. I'm going to have some noodles in a minute and then pack up and go home. So yeah, really nice to be back. Going forward, we're going to be trying to reintroduce the Tarp Breakfast Club, just because I used to really enjoy that and I just haven't made time for that recently, so we're going to try and do that. And anything else you want to see on the channel, let me know. I know some people said stick to the basics, so we'll do some basic stuff as well that's relevant to what I'm doing now. Maybe it's got to be something that I'm interested in, right? Right, so in the meantime, I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you soon. And of course, leave no trace.